Your vegan one thing further.
Right, I'm gonna pause mute. Let's just quickly pop everyone on mute. Alrighty, welcome everybody to day one of the Main Character Energy Live Summit. Over the next 3 days, we have got jam-packed with content. We've got 3 speakers per day coming in to share their story. I've picked incredible people, handpicked myself out of people that I follow and have followed for a long time. And I've seen them grow, scale, and really own their own brand. Like they do their thing in such a way that it can't be copied. Other people will try, but it can't be copied. It is their thing and what they're known for. So really, really excited to bring you some incredible speakers over the next course of the 3 days, where we've got people who are specialists in Instagram, in TikTok, in launching, in stories, LinkedIn, high ticket sales, volume sales, all of the things. So you're going to get a lot out of the next 3 days. So clear your calendars, get on to every speaker session. Right, let's dive straight in with our first speaker of the day, who is Rachel. If you follow her on Insta, her Insta handle is My Coach Rachel. Rachel is based in the US. She is your Instagram stories queen and your sold out launch queen. She is just an absolute artist of being able to sell, and watch her artistry at work when she has sold out launch after sold out launch. Like, really brings her buyers on a journey with her, and everyone gets so excited. She gets all these raving DMs, and every launch is just a sellout, but it feels like a party at the same time. So without further ado, I'm handing over to Rachel. I'm super, super excited to have you on board, Rachel. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Yes, speaking of the fun launches, I have this way. I have the sticky notes behind me, which are all of my lovely clients. Actually, my entire office is basically just decorated in sticky notes. I don't know if that counts as decoration, but it does for me.
Exactly. And it was one of the things that we know you for, is having just everyone's name and it feeling like a party all of the time. If you don't already follow Rachel, and you will after this, she is your hot pink queen. There are going to be hot pink post-it notes and celebrations absolutely everywhere. So for the people who might be hearing from you for the first time, Rachel, do you want to give us like a bit of your story, a bit about you, how you got to where you are? We'll dive into more like the nitty-gritty story, but just a flavor of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know me, hello, my name is Rachel Spencer. Well, I actually got married 2 years ago, so my new last name is Wolf, but I haven't technically changed it yet. So some people know me as Rachel Spencer or Rachel Spencer Wolf. But I am a business coach and launch strategist for female entrepreneurs and course creators. And I've been in the online space for about 8 years now. So I specifically help my clients kind of figure out their own style of launching their offers in a way that feels super authentic to them, that highlights their magic and their uniqueness, so that they can sell out their offers to their specific audience every single time. But as far as where my story started and how I entered the online space 8 years ago, it's so crazy to say that because a lot of people didn't even realize this space existed until I think like 2020, right? During the pandemic was when people started to, start their own online businesses and started to realize that the coaching industry was like the fastest growing industry that there was, right? But now, I got into this industry 8 years ago, and but my story starts way before that. So I was suffering through an eating disorder at the end of high school and kind of throughout college as well. I went to acting school, Oklahoma City University. It's known as one of the top acting and musical theater schools in the nation. And there's obviously a lot of focus on your looks and your body weight and making sure that you fit the perfect type and the perfect mold. And I really, really struggled with my body image and my self-esteem. And, I live in New York today. I love it. I moved to New York to be an actress originally, but I very quickly realized that it wasn't the life for me. And going through recovery, especially realizing that, going to auditions and, being typecasted or being told to lose weight, it just wasn't healthy for my mental health. So I eventually said, well, what do I do now? Because I went to college for 4 years to be an actress. What the hell am I going to do with my life? So it was around that time that I hired my own life coach. I didn't even know what life coaches were. I wasn't even aware that there was any type of online coaches or really online businesses that were service-based like that. But I hired someone to really help me figure out where I was going to go with my life now, because I just had no idea, and I felt like I was starting over, not just with my career, but with rediscovering myself. So through working with him, my life coach, I realized that I wanted to be a coach myself. And I started as a self-love coach to help other women, who were going through what I went through. And I quickly realized that, my past years of sales experience and also joining the self-love community on Instagram, I quickly realized that that was something that I absolutely loved, even more than, talking about self-love and sharing my journey in general. I just loved connecting with people and building a warm community online. So I ended up going viral in multiple international media publications like Self, Allure, Teen Vogue, Today, et cetera, et cetera. And that was when my account first blew up, and I had other entrepreneurs saying, wait a second, like, how do you know so much about Instagram? How are you going viral? How are your, life coaching programs filling up? And how do you have all of these sales coming in? And so that's when I realized, okay, there's something here. I think I want to teach more about Instagram and business and really building this community online. And so that's what kind of catapulted me into business coaching and, teaching Instagram. And now we're here.
Oh my gosh, I love that story.
Thank
Because I was
you.
kind of in it towards the end of that. So I probably followed you. I was one of the 2020, let me start my online business. Not because of the pandemic. It had been in the realm before the pandemic. But once we were all locked down, no one's going anywhere. I was like, okay, we've got the time to figure this shit out. Let's go.
Exactly.
We were around end of 2020, I would imagine. So I would have come in, seeing you, all the pink, all the business coach stuff. So I actually didn't know about your journey of like a self-love coach and all of that. So I love that.
Yeah,
And it
I feel like that's where a lot of people start. There's always these pivots, and a lot of us are multi-passionate, and we are, wanting to do multiple different things. And I always had an interest in sales. I always had an interest in community and Instagram, and it just so happened that it took me, going through one pathway of online business and seeing success in that to decide that I wanted to, go the business and sales route.
yeah. And it makes so much sense now, like hearing the full backstory, because one of the things that I really love about like when you're selling and doing launches is speaking to different personality types and meeting people where they're at and encouraging them there to do things their own way. So
Mhm.
hearing like your journey of like learning how to love who you are now makes that front, not that it's a front, obviously, like that message makes so much more sense because it's like really important for you to show up in a way that you love and you want that for others.
Absolutely. Well, and I wondered if you would catch that because it's so true, with being an actress and, needing to fit the mold and feeling like I never fit the mold and it wasn't healthy for me. That really shines through in the work that I do with my clients today and ensuring that they do stand out and we are highlighting their magic and their uniqueness and just ensuring that I know it's cliche, but they're like showing up authentically because I mean, it is important, especially in today's market too, because our industry is growing at such a fast pace. It's more important now than ever that you're one, building a loyal audience, but two, the way that you do that is through, standing out and kind of showing what makes you and your message different.
Yes. Did you always stand out in the way that you do now?
I
Going back
hope
to
so. Um,
like bright colors and like very the Rachel that we see now, or is that something that's progressed over time?
I think that it's something that evolved because I'm still evolving today. Actually, I would say in the last 6 months to a year, I've even stepped more into who I truly am in the Instagram and online realm. But I feel like when you're first starting your business, you almost are trying to fit the mold because you just want to do everything right? It's like you don't want to do it your own way. You think you do, but then you get into it and you're just like, if I could do it my own way, wouldn't I already be successful? Just tell me what to do to make lots of money. So we try to like fit that mold, but then it really blows up in our face because once again, we're not standing out. And we're not figuring out that thing that really makes our brand us. So I definitely started that way with just like trying to like fit the mold and figure stuff out and build my community the best that I could. But I feel like it was around like 2021 that I was like, you know what? Like fuck it. I'm just going all in on the hot pink, the girly Barbie, goofy brand and branding because that's really who I am. And I lost that a little bit along the way. I think last year, especially, I questioned a lot with my brand and I started to, say, oh, what's going to work to get me to that next level? Like, what's that thing that I need to do? And I kind of steered away from who I truly am. But the last 6 months or so, like I was saying, I feel like I've found that unique, goofy, authentic voice again.
I love that. And I think that that part will resonate with a lot of people because I know for sure myself, I've gone through where are we? Are we coming back home to me or are we evolving to something else? You go
Yeah.
through that unsure stage and then either land like in certainty or a new level or back like home to you on a whole new level. So you
Yeah.
guys can pop in the chat if you've experienced something like a little bit of uncertainty yourself, either with your brand or your audience or the way that you're doing things.
Well, I
Equally, if
think
you
we all feel like we have to have it figured out immediately. Or once you hit a certain level, that's when you've made it. That's when you've figured it out. And that's what your brand is and your business is going to be for the rest of all time. And there's actually a lot of pressure surrounding that. So when you start to feel differently or want to do different things, or you yourself are evolving, things feel kind of rocky. And you're like, well, wait a second, this isn't how it felt before, and so that's what I went through. Is it was actually an evolution. It was actually my next level of growth, but in the moment I didn't see it that way. It felt rocky, it felt wrong, it felt weird, and navigating that was definitely hard. But once I came to the other side is when I realized, no, that was just a next evolution. Like, you've been in the industry for 8 years, you're not supposed to stay the same person.
ooh, different chapters of Rachel. I love this. I love
Definitely.
like my personal experience with this has been whenever you go through a period of uncertainty, the next chapter that lands is like main character energy on a whole new level because it's a whole new level of confidence, a whole new level of certainty, a whole new level of excitement. So like the bit that follows the rocky patch is incredible, but you kind of have to go through the rocky patch first. So I
Exactly.
love Rachel, what's some we'll get onto all the fun stuff and the wins and all of that, but what's some things that you found the hardest as you've been going through your journey over the last
Mm.
8 years? Things that either were unexpected challenges that like nearly threw you off, or things that either people don't talk about, or things that you dealt with quietly behind the scenes, obviously as much as you want to talk about or not.
No, oh,
Things
I'm an open book. You can ask me absolutely anything, but I would say the number one thing that I had to navigate happened when I started hitting extremely high cash months, 50, 70, 80K months, and trying to get to those coveted 100K, 200K months. And I know, this industry is so limitless, and we see online coaches that are making $1 million months. And it can be so inspiring to see what is possible for us. But at the same time, that comes with a lot of pressure and a lot of comparison and a lot of feeling like there's always something else. There's always a next level to be striving for. So I remember in like 2022, I was having these back to back to back super high cash months, but I wasn't growing, quote unquote, financially, like going from 80 to 100 to 200 to 250 or whatever it was per month, right? And hopefully this resonates with a lot of you, whether it's those numbers or 10K months or whatever it is, just feeling kind of that pressure to constantly be getting to that next level in some way financially. And so I felt like I was stuck, right? Which makes no sense because in reality, having high cash months like that over and over again, that to me now feels like one of the most sustainable businesses in the world. It feels so sustainable, so secure. But again, at the time, I really got caught in those pressures of feeling like I always had to do more and be more. And, I couldn't be happy and content where I was at. And, along with those pressures came with the pressure to, again, be somebody that I maybe wasn't 100% and trying to do what this other person who, was making more money than me, who had a more established brand than me, like trying to do what they were doing and almost dimming down my own light and my own magic and feeling like I had to be them and do, as they were doing in order to be successful. And again, now, as you can see, a whole part of my message is realizing that, that's not it at all. And it's all about figuring out, who you are and what makes you unique and what's going to really help you scale. So I would say around like 2022 to 2023 is when I really developed this messaging of, finding your it factor, finding your unique angle, and kind of just breaking the rules of these outdated practices of, business and what you're supposed to do.
And following others just because they've made more rather than like really delving into you more. I love that. I think that's really, really valuable for people. I hope everybody's listening, paying close attention, because regardless of whatever money level you're at, I think Rachel makes a really good point that we're seeing such wild success that there's always going to be a new level. Like there is no ceiling, which is incredibly exciting, but also means that if you're someone that is either really competitive or really like can fall into over comparison easily, you're always going to be on a level of uncertainty. So it's leaning into that, like enjoy where you're at and be expanded without feeling just like it's never enough.
Absolutely.
Love that. All right, let's get on to some of the fun stuff then. What are some of the things that you're really proud of over your 8 years? And these could either be the big things or things like small, but they were significant to you.
I mean, I could absolutely have a little brag party about everything that's happened to me with my launches and financially, but at the end of the day, it's not even about the money or the highest cash month I had or the most amount of people that I signed into programs. Those things are amazing and I am proud of them. But to me, what those symbolize is the community that I've built, is the loyal audience that I have built. So I would say the number one thing that I am proud of over the past few years is that loyal audience that I built, not just loyal, but hot. Ready? Everybody wants to talk about like a hot audience, how to build a warm audience. And that's something that, I specifically teach how to warm up your audience before the launch, but also building a hot audience, like that takes time. If you want to build a community that's loyal to you and wants to continue buying from you over and over again, that's not something I'm going to teach you in a 5-second strategy, right? It might not even be something I can teach you in one masterclass. It's something that you're going to be consistently building, and I've been in the online space for 8 years, but because I prioritized that from the very beginning when I was a self-love coach and I, joined Instagram saying, I just want to share my message and I want other women to hear it and I want them to feel validated and seen and heard. And I wanted to, network and make connections with other women in the self-love community. Like that is just something that has always been so, so important to me. So it started there. And then again, when I got into business, I knew that that was more important than anything, more important than my best offer, more important than how much money I've made, more important than a pretty sales page, pretty graphics. It was like, no, how are you activating your audience? How are you, not just keeping them on their toes, but making them feel like you're constantly serving them and that they constantly feel like they're learning from you and that they love you, right? And so I think that that's the number one reason for the success that I've had today, even though I could sit here and teach so many different strategies, right? Because I am a strategy queen. That's something I'll own. I'm a marketing and strategy queen. Yes, I can teach strategies for growth. I can teach strategies for making money. I can teach strategies for launching, but something that is more important than that is your audience and is your community. So I would say above all else over the past few years, that's the thing that I am the most proud of.
I love that answer. I love that answer because you truly do serve your community for free in like a whole next level. I remember finding you whenever it was, however many years ago, and for everybody listening, Rachel would drop such value on her stories that you would be stupid not to screenshot her short stories because you don't want that to time out in 24 hours. You'll never see it again.
Thank
She would
God
just
for highlights now, highlights on your profile.
through, and even if I was only half awake, I'd be like, Sarah, wake up, you need that. I'd be like, pay attention. She is dropping absolute gold. It used to be criminal. The stuff that you'd be putting on stories are like really, really high level stuff. So for everyone that's watching, like never be afraid to teach too much good stuff or gold on your stories because
Yeah.
from whenever that was, however many years ago, I now still have the impression from Rachel, high value, incredible woman, will just give her knowledge for free. And so you automatically want to come and be like, oh, I know that her paid programs would be amazing because this is what she's giving for free.
It's so funny. I had a client in my mastermind last year that she randomly brought up at a retreat of ours, or no, it might have been at a wedding we were both at, but anyway, it was a former client of mine. She brought up, oh, I used these screenshots from your stories to do like my mini training the other day. I was like, what screenshots are you talking about? She had screenshotted my stories from like 2019, something that I did in my stories that inspired her and that she wanted to like eventually replicate. And like 3, 4 years later, she was like pulling up these screenshots and, it was helping her with her stories. And I was like, wow, that's so amazing. But I just wanted to add to that with like giving so much value that I think, what people don't understand specifically about stories, because yes, like you said, Instagram stories are my thing as well. I am an Instagram stories queen, and everybody always wants to know about stories and raising your engagement and all of that. And the number one thing about stories and giving value is realizing that your Instagram is like a funnel and a free funnel. And at the top, you have the phase where people find you, right? So usually today, that's through like Reels, because obviously Instagram has said that that's what they're pushing, right, to non-followers, whether that's true or not. But we post Reels and we hope to get seen and found, right? So people say, you know what? I really liked this reel. I'm going to go check her out. They go to your profile. That's when they move down into the consideration phase. So they're looking at your feed posts, they're looking at your highlights, they're just discovering you and saying like, wow, I'm following this girl. I really liked that reel, but now I'm binging her profile. She's giving constant value. What's the next thing that they do? They move to that bottom phase of the funnel, which is the conversion phase. They go and they look at your stories. Now, on a consistent basis, your stories are shown to your most engaged followers. So if you're ever like, why do my reels get 8,000 views or 2,000 views, whatever it is, but my stories get 200 or 300, it can be really, really frustrating. But once you realize that those are my warmest leads, like that is my absolute warmest, most loyal community, most engaged following, that makes it a little bit more exciting because what if you could convert all 200 people viewing your stories? So anyway, I just wanted to add that there's a reason that, stories aren't just for, showing your dinner, even though I do that too, but not just for showing your dinner or your daily walks, but for actually giving value and diving deeper into the concepts that you teach and help your clients with, because that's where you're going to convert.
Yeah, I also want to add to that, because something that I watched you be able to do really well is, like, we know that stories is for your existing audience, but you were able to get visible in so many other places without using just grid posts and like the top of the funnel stuff. You would have stories working for you on other people's stories to
Yeah.
bring new people to your story. So like it's
Yeah.
almost like a lot of the funnel was happening just there, and you could go weeks, if not months, without posting on the grid. And I was like, oh, how did she do it?
I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. It's so funny because I like to humble brag about it, how in 2022, I only posted on my feed 30 times the entire year, but it was still a 650K cash year. And that was strictly from stories. So I love to humble brag about that, but then I'm like, but I'm not saying don't post anywhere else. Don't email your list. Like, of course, I'm not saying that. But that's just, again, it was an interesting year for me. And the one place that was easy for me to show up was my stories. And it's like you said, like when you are giving so much value, exclusive value in one place, that's when people start to watch and consistently, look for your stories and come to your page and want to see what you're doing. And so I think that that's how I built such a warm audience there.
Love that. Love that. So for people who are watching wanting to really excel in 2024, what sort of things are you going to be doing differently? And what can they do to show up in their brand with more main character energy?
Ooh, I absolutely love this question. I feel like there's a couple things. One, like I was saying earlier, the number one thing that I've been working on over the past few months is just being 100,000% authentically me. And that means that like some posts aren't even super businessy, type of post. Like I posted something where I was like singing a Taylor Swift song because I'm a big Swiftie. And I was like, well, this isn't necessarily to get clients, to quote unquote get clients, right? It's just to, show who I am and to draw people to me who have the same, humor, the same personality, who like the same things as me. And so that's something that I've realized. And my husband's helped me realize that too, because he's also an entrepreneur and he kept saying those things to me, like not every post has to be this like really, long, well thought out, like serious businessy mentorship type of post. He's like, you can post some reels that are just showing off your personality and what you love and who you are. And so again, once I started doing that, not only did I get my spark back and I actually enjoy creating content now, but I've actually drawn a lot more people to me that are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this about you, or you're actually really funny, or, whatever it is. So I think that is very, very important for 2024, that you're playing more in your business. You are playing, you are being more of yourself. You're enjoying creating content. There's such a cloud over the online space right now because of reach being down and what the hell is the Instagram algorithm up to and all of that. And don't get me wrong, you're valid for feeling that way. It's okay that you feel that way. But at the same time, we have to learn to enjoy it and have fun with it, because then at that point, I don't care if there's 2,000 people seeing my reel or there's, 400 people seeing my reel. It's important to me that I'm just being me and that I'm enjoying it, right? So 2024 is the year of play and, getting your spark back when it comes to content. Now, on the other hand, I think that it's really, really important, especially for what I teach my clients, is learning how to effectively launch and sell. Because I think that this is something that people kind of toss to the side, especially in today's day and age. All we want is passive income, passive income, passive income. I'm sure you've seen that on your Explore page. I made $50,000 in 3 seconds while doing nothing and laying at the beach and da da da. And it's like, okay, right? But we see that everywhere. And it's like, oh, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? But in reality, you don't get to that point until you learn how to sell out your offers. right? And so something that I teach my clients is how to not just launch, right? Not just launch your offer, make sure that a lot of people see it, make sure that you warm up your audience, make sure that it sells, but make sure that you're finding the style of launching that works for you. This is something that I call your launching archetype. And I have a quiz, not to like self-promote, but I have a quiz in the link in my bio where you can take the launching archetype quiz and kind of figure out what style of launching is right for you. And it's really based off of like your strengths, your potential weaknesses, your content preferences, how you like to interact with clients, all of that. Because the truth of the matter is like launching is not a one-size-fits-all strategy. And I think that's why people get burnt out with live launching and with like selling their offers. They kind of feel like they have to do it like their coach or like their biz bestie, and they run themselves so exhausted, rampant, I think that's the word I was looking for, by just like doing what other people are doing. And even if like, for example, the example that I always give is this coach over here is, single, has no kids, has no 9 to 5, has a ton of energy, loves showing up online. Maybe like I'll use myself, has like an acting background, right? So her launches look like her showing up all day, every day. She loves creating content, loves creating reels. Like she has unlimited time to promote her offers and her business. And then you have this other coach over here who is not only working full time in a 9 to 5, but when she gets home from her 9 to 5 and wants to work on her business, she actually has to take care of her kids and help with homework and feed them dinner and put them to bed. And then she only has a couple of hours to actually work on her business and promote. So tell me why we are teaching these two people the exact same way of showing up and selling their offers and being visible. It's just not possible, right? One person is going to end up so exhausted and feeling like they just can't possibly do it, and live launching just isn't for them. It's too stressful. So what I've realized is by working with people's launching archetypes, we can really build a launch plan that works for them and their lifestyle and how many hours in a day they have and how they like creating content, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the other thing I was going to say. On top of playing and enjoying content again, is learning to enjoy selling your offers again and really figuring out that launching style that works for you.
I love that. I don't know if I've taken this quiz, but I'm going to be going to take it.
You got to
after.
take it.
Makes so much sense, because there is so much to do with a launch show. If you're not playing to your own strengths, whether it's your time, your energy, your availability time, energy, all of the things, you're going to end up feeling like you haven't hit the bar, whether that's the bar that the industry set or whether that's the bar that you set internally for yourself, that you didn't feel good enough because you didn't hit it. Like there can be so many things. Whereas if you can play to your strengths and be like, I have done enough and I am happy, and we are smashing it regardless. So
Exactly.
I love. How is there 4 archetypes, or is there more?
There's 4. Yes. Oh my God, you're going to make me rattle them off the top of my head. No, I think I can. So there is the archetype where you're a content creator and educator. So that's very much me, and kind of that first coach that I was talking about, where it's like you love showing up on, video and showing your face and showing your personality, and you love master classes, and you would love to go into a launch and like really working on your content plan and doing live
2 carriages.
live master classes, and everything else is possible. And then you have the archetype that is more, I believe I call it like the coach's coach archetype. See, I forget the names of it, but anyway, you are someone that, it doesn't mean that you don't thrive with content creation, but you prefer to be in the room with your clients. Like you got into this industry to coach. Let me know like which one of these sounds like you. So the first one was you are just an obsessive content creation queen. The second one is like, you got into this industry to coach, to help people, and you love being on one-on-one calls. And that doesn't mean that you don't love content creation, but any time that you can really focus on your clients, and even during a launch, if you could do like a workshop or something where people can come up and actually get that coaching from you, that's where you thrive, right? Another archetype is a transformational and embodiment archetype. This is for someone who doesn't lean as heavily into the strategy and is more kind of focusing on business energetics and doesn't necessarily want to show up and do the reels where it's like 3 ways to get more views on your stories. View the caption now. They're like, that's just not what they do. They would prefer to sell through their energy and their embodiment and show people what their life looks like after this transformation. I see a lot of people who specifically love launching like masterminds and mini minds as that archetype because, that's the vibey energy that you need to sell something like that. And then finally, there's the archetype where it's behind the scenes queen. That's someone who doesn't really like being on camera very much. They really thrive with like long form content, blog, email. They want to do a wait list during their launch because they just would prefer to be off camera. Now we see the rise of like faceless marketing, and you can, still create reels and stuff without showing your face, but still there a lot of the time people are like, okay, is there a strategy where I can like just focus on my email list or like my blog or something like that? And so that would be the behind the scenes queen. So I would love to know what everybody feels like they are, but if you want to take the quiz to be sure, you could definitely go to my profile. But that was a good test. There's 4 archetypes.
I think I definitely fall into category 1.
Yes, me
High
too.
energy, high time, and yeah, love doing
You're a
all.
little bit of like transformational though as well, I feel like, because you're very vibey.
Yeah. I was like purely strategy when I started, and then when I came to Bali, I was just like, let me just
Yes.
feel this energy. And
The energy, yes.
people were like, "You're different."
In a good way.
Yeah, exactly. It was far less do this, say this, here is the script, or here are the words and the format and the structure, and far less be and you will attract.
Absolutely.
Very new to me coming from that corporate sales background where it was like, ask this, do this, say this, da 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 da.
Oh my gosh, exactly. I didn't know you were from a corporate background. So like, yes, it's like ingrained into your brain.
Yeah, ask this questions, position yourself in this way, objection handle like this, da 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 da
Yep.
da.
Yep.
Yeah, new corporate sales. Is it from a background of sales?
Yes. So I was in sales really since I was 16 years old. So just a very quick story. When I was 16, I got a job. It's going to sound silly, but I got a job at a tanning salon. I used to, fake tan. My hair was blonde. Those were some crazy days. But anyway, I got a job at a tanning salon and it was very commission based. Who could sell the most tanning packages? Who could sell the most, lotion? Um, and everybody was kind of just selling like whatever people came in and said, oh, I want the lowest package. I want that lotion. And they're like, sure. And handing it off. And I was like, what's that one on the top shelf up there? They were like, oh, that's our Cypher lotion. That's $150 just for a lotion. And I was like, okay, well, what makes it so cool? And once I heard about the science behind this lotion, I was like, well, that's what I'm going to sell. I'm not going to sell the little baby lotions and baby packages. I'm going to sell the highest package and the highest lotion. So I'm 16 years old and I'm selling these like 120, $150 lotions, and there was like 5 locations in the region. I was corporate employee of the month 3 times in a row, like beating out all of these adults who worked there and all of that. And so I already knew from when I was 16 that sales was something that I was going to be doing. And I worked at Yelp for a bit and did some account management and stuff, but there's nothing like having your own business.
I love that. Like your story then literally like brought back a memory of my own that I haven't thought about in years. But it was like those early things where you recognize there was a reward to be got if you could do something. And it's like the first little sales. Cha-ching.
Cha-ching, exactly. And not settling for the bare minimum. I mean, I know it's so silly because it's just a lotion, it's just a tanning package, but like I'll never forget that while everybody else was like bare minimum, what's the easiest to sell? I was like, well, I'm going to try to sell those because I'm going to get a bigger commission. It might be harder at first, but I'm going to do it.
And the life lessons that come from that. Sell the expensive lotion, ladies.
Exactly.
Throughout, always. And so many business lessons in that. all from, because a lot of people will think, oh, I'll just charge less and then I'll get, it'll be easier to get clients. And like, not if you're going for like
no.
level clients. Yeah, not necessarily. It might be harder because you're putting off the good clients by dropping your prices.
Yep.
So many lessons. Oh, loving this, Rachel. Okay, so recapping, because you said going into 2024, the lessons for these ladies going forward is play and have more fun in your business. Be less attached to taking everything so seriously, especially if you're someone that suffers from over comparison. Like, pull yourself away, blinkers on, stay in your lane and own what you do. But also learn how to freaking launch. Like, this is a skill that you are going to need. And even if, like, I've done endless launches, but there's always more to learn. Every time you take a step, there's either steps that you can refine and improve or next levels to go. So whether you're someone that already feels confident about launching, go follow Rachel for this. She's absolutely.
No, I love that. And
Really?
even if you feel like launching just hasn't worked for you too, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, it just doesn't work for me or it stresses me out. I mean, that's the whole reason that I developed this idea of the archetypes and like finding your style, because no matter who you are, if you have a business, if you are selling offers, you are launching. And it may not seem like you are, but like I like to say, launching is the same as just promoting. It's the same as selling. It's a little bit more structured, but no matter what, if you are selling offers, if you are doing like once per quarter promotions, you are launching. And if you want to have bigger launches and you want more people inside of your programs, you need to learn how to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Because through all the trends and fads and things that we will see come and go across the years, this is a skill that you will take with you throughout your entire business journey. So it will pay you many, many times over to learn how to do it at all, but also then to refine that skill and get better and better and better at it. That's certainly something that I'm finding a few years into business.
Yeah. Oh,
Really.
I feel like I'm still growing and still getting better at launching myself. I mean, it's like you said, you never stop evolving and your, strategies and the things that work for you never stop evolving either, because your lifestyle is always changing and the way that you run your business and the way that you create content, it's always changing. So to be able to continue to grow along with your business and strategies is really cool.
Yeah. So for the ladies that might be planning a launch coming up, what are some things that they can do either ahead of or just as part of the process so that when they're launching, they can show up in their main character energy? What are some things that you either do to minimize your stress or just show up in your best energy throughout your key sales period?
Well, one is like extreme proper planning. Like, I know it feels so much better to just like want to validate your offer from the beginning and just like, do it messy. Well, hold on, because doing it messy is not wrong. But for people that feel constantly stressed out during launches, doing it messy might not be your mode of launching, right? It's like, we want that instant validation. We want to see if it'll sell. So the second we get an idea, we kind of like put it out there and test the waters without warming up our audience, without having a content plan. And then of course, when people don't sign up, we assume it's our offer. It's not what people want, or just launching sucks, or this isn't going to work, or, we move on to the next thing. And so it's like, I think it's important that from the beginning, yes, we're listening to our audience and doing proper market research, but we're not just throwing, up a link in our bio and kind of seeing what happens. We're taking the launching archetype quiz. We're figuring out, how we want to launch, what we want to focus on, and what our content is going to look like, how we're going to convert, how often we're going to show up, and on what platforms. Because if you go into your launch with that much preparation, you feel so much less stressed. So that's number one. And number two is ensuring that you are warming up your audience before you actually launch and sell. I cannot stress this enough because it's the biggest piece and something that so many people forget. Even people who have generally warm audiences, you will still see them teasing their offer, hyping their audience, and really activating them and warming them up before they launch. Because what we need to realize is throughout the year, just in general, and as you're creating content and posting about your brand and building an audience, you're building that based upon just who you are and your values and the way that you run your business and all of that. So yes, you're building that community of people who like you, but when it comes to an offer where you're solving a very specific problem, there's a different type of warming up, right? It's not just, well, you follow me, you engage with me, so here's an offer. Do you want it or not? That's not the case. You have this community that's watching, but then there's this whole period before the launch where you say, hey, I got something coming and I'm going to give you some hints and kind of tell you more about it and kind of keep you on your toes and help you decide whether or not this is going to be right for you. So that is why we specifically warm up right before each launch. So don't forget to activate your audience, and really just focus on them during the launch, because your offer is not about you. Your offer is about ensuring that you are solving that problem for your ideal client. So make sure that you're, catering to their experience and really focusing on them.
Love, love, love that. I don't know if you guys have got launches coming up, but I can definitely relate to being the one that is so excited that I'm just like, let me just throw it out there and people will come.
And you know what? Some people can do that. Like if you have a super, super warm audience and you are launching all the time, there's always something new coming from you. It makes sense that you could just, tomorrow launch a new offer, but that's not the norm for all people. And so, again, I keep saying it over and over again, but going back to launching archetype, like if you're trying to launch like that person, like it's just not going to work the same. Like you might need to warm up your audience longer. Your audience is different, your offer is different, your niche is different. So just something to remember. Like it's okay to be excited and some people can just sell in a day, but don't see that as the norm. Like put some time and effort into planning your launch and stuff.
Yes. Yes. Who here has got any questions for Rachel? Pop them in the chat, or if you want to come on camera and ask the question, you're more than welcome to. Let's see if some faces come on. Show your faces, guys.
Show yourself.
Put you on so that we can see some faces. Here we go. Hi, Karen. We can see Evie.
Hello.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, you want to go, Evie?
What percentages of face to camera, polls, lifestyle, etc. would you say is best on your stories?
Specifically for stories? Well, I don't know that there's a certain percentage, specifically because what I teach is that it should always kind of be a mix of both. And the way that, or of all, the way that I make it super, super easy is I like to think of my stories are the story of my day, the story of my business and what's coming up and everything like that. So let's say that you're telling the story of your day. Did your day start with you promoting your offer, or did your day start with you, doing a meditation and answering client boxers and getting ready for the day and drinking your coffee? And you know what I mean? So I like to show exactly what I'm doing each day and involving my audience in that. Do you guys drink coffee in the morning? It sounds so lame and so simple, but it really is important. It's just, what do you drink in the mornings? Or I'm doing this meditation. Have you ever heard of it? Swipe if you have, or yes or no, right? And so consistently engaging them, taking them through the story of your day. And yes, once you get to a point where you're like, I can't wait to talk about my offer, absolutely go for it, promote, but at least then you've been speaking to your audience, you've been showing your lifestyle, you've been showing your day, you've made them feel like they're a fly on the wall, right? And so that's what makes it easier for me. I'm like, okay, there's a beginning, middle, and end to my day, and I'm just gonna take my audience through it. And I don't think of a certain percentage, but I do want to make sure that I'm kind of showing each thing every single day. So making sure that every day you're selling your offer, you are showing your lifestyle and you are activating your audience with polls or, swipes or something like that throughout the day. So I know that that wasn't like the sexiest, most poignant, most 1, 2, 3 answer, but hopefully it helped in some way with just a different way to think about it.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, Rachel. I almost asked you a question about that earlier because like you do framing the day really well.
Mhm.
Like what day, I can picture it now, the coffee mug in front of the window with the drapes, and it'd be what's coming up on the day, or just your morning thoughts. Like it'd be coffee morning thoughts.
My
And that's something
signature.
I quite often do. Yeah, I'll either do like mirror shot to kickstart the day or like morning thoughts. It's just such a nice way of just easing in, and I'll share such like random things that might be like, I don't know, what my hair was doing that day, or
Yeah.
like, time of the month threw me off yesterday, or like just normal human things before getting into the business stuff. And it'll be that
Yep.
stuff that people really like gel with, like, oh,
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah, well, and I feel like it's not just easier for you because in reality, like I'm waking up and I'm not ready for business or promotion yet. So I'm like, oh, let me just like take a picture of my coffee and like talk to my audience a little bit. Let me ease on to the day. So it's easier for you, but it's also easier for your audience to consume because it's not disjointed from day to day, just kind of like hopping into that next thing. They really do feel like there was a beginning, a middle, and end to your day, and they're starting that next day over with you when they see your, little story circle pop up.
I think how you could do that, Evie, and everyone here, because right from me first following Rachel, even if we were in different time zones, it still felt like I'm sharing that morning coffee with her and starting the day together. Kind of that like accountability check-in of like, oh, we're starting day together, even though I was in the UK at the time. So what's something that you can have a connection point with your audience on a day to day, ideally every morning, that they become used to you doing that thing, like it becomes part of their day, seeing you do that.
And make it easy too. Make it as easy as possible. So I have a whole album in my phone that is like basically my own stock photos of me with the coffee mug showing the New York City skyline. Like I can reuse that over and over again, right? Now, obviously, like pictures of myself, like you don't want to reuse too often, but I do have like little stock images of my office or the skyline or my coffee or whatever, so that, I'm not always worried about like getting the shot. There's just these different versions of me that I can, replicate.
Why have I never thought of a stock photos?
Yep. Yep. I taught that in a master class once, and it was so funny because I was like, I'm calling myself out hardcore here. And I did, because now sometimes I'll have clients reach out and be like, I saw that like a month ago. Like, I see what you did there. I remember you taught me to do that too. But it was so funny. I showed one specific image of me just like carrying my coffee into my office. And I have lots of those, mind you, but it was one specific one. And I took screenshots from my archives and I showed within a period of like 3 months when I used it 6 different times. And I was like, nobody cares. Nobody's like, oh, how could she reuse that photo? Like, it doesn't matter. But for me, it made it so much easier to just wake up and be like, let me just say good morning to my audience really quickly, without feeling like, oh, I got to take a good picture. I got to do my hair. Right. So yeah, it's really easy, and a little hack for you.
Yeah. For the girlies who don't want to put their makeup on every single day, stock photo your own face, guys.
That's right. Oh, I'm all about the filters too. Like, catch me with no makeup on the daily, just using those filters that give me a little cat eye. I'm like, that's good enough.
Also very handy for, like, there was a time where I was flying back to the UK and I wanted to be visibly still in Bali because I was going back to surprise for Mother's Day. So I was just like, I need to be able to post content that looks like Bali that will cover me for the long flight home. So being able to post stuff that's all like, here's the sunset whilst I was on a 15-hour flight.
Exactly.
You can cover your ass and make it seem like you're somewhere else if you need to buy yourself some time.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Love it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rachel. Really, really enjoyed like your tips, your strategies, and just sharing more of your life stories. And like really, really incredible to see like the
Mhm.
brand that you've built now and all the successes that you've had, but also what you've had to do to, you know, evolve into the person that we see now that's full of energy, full of color, bubbly, but like you coming from the girl at high school that didn't feel that way and you blossomed into
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
incredible, sparkly bubble of a person that we see now.
Well, thank you so, so much for having me. I love the women that you asked to be part of this summit. So it feels like, you know, an honor to be at the table. So yeah, thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
It's at, I'll type it in here. It's oh, she did it.
I'm gonna put the
At my
follow
coach Rachel.
at Coach Rachel. So yes, everybody go follow Rachel. I'm
Thank
going to wrap things up here. We've got a couple of minutes and then we'll be joining with Ashley, who's actually on this call, but it is a separate Zoom link. So come off. We'll come on to the new Zoom link on the hour in a couple of minutes. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you have an incredible rest of your day. Everyone go follow Rachel. If you've got any questions around stories, launching, or anything else, she'll be your absolute queen. And I will join you back here in a couple of minutes for Ashley Beddington from By the Blazer. It's going to be a very different talk, but really, really insightful as well. So I hope to see you all back here in a couple of minutes. Thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
guys. Thank you, Rachel. See you
Bye.
soon.